Imagine a quiet suburban neighborhood called Willow Creek, where the sun sets golden over manicured lawns, kids ride bikes down tree-lined streets, and the air smells faintly of fresh-cut grass. Paradise, right? Until you peel back the curtain and see the HOA, the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, a group of clipboard-wielding busybodies who've ruled this place like petty tyrants for decades, and now they're facing their biggest battle yet. A developer's plan to build 50 sleek, modern houses on the empty lot at the edge of town, a plot of land that's been sitting there, overgrown with weeds and whispers of old rumors, ever since anyone can remember, and the HOA wants it stopped, dead in its tracks, because to them, those new houses aren't just buildings, they're an invasion, a threat to everything they've spent years controlling, and this, my friends, is where our story begins, with a cast of characters you'll love, hate, and maybe even root for by the end. So buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride through petty politics, neighborhood drama, and a fight that could tear Willow Creek apart. It all starts at the monthly HOA meeting, held in the stuffy community center with its flickering fluorescent lights and folding chairs that creak under the weight of tension, where Margaret Hensley, the HOA president, a woman in her late 60s with a perm so tight it could double as a helmet, bangs her gavel like she's judge, jury, and executioner, calling the room to order as 30 residents shift uncomfortably in their seats, some clutching coffee cups, others whispering about the rumors. They've heard new houses, new people, change, and Margaret, with her steely gaze and a voice that could curdle milk, says, "We've got a problem, folks, a big one. That developer, Pinnacle Properties, they've submitted plans to the county to build 50 houses on Lot 17, and I'll be damned if we let that happen on my watch." And the room erupts, some cheering her on, others muttering about property values, and one guy, Tom Rivera, a mechanic in his 40s with grease-stained hands and a no-nonsense attitude, stands up and says, "Hold on, Margaret. Maybe new houses aren't the end of the world. Maybe they'll bring in some new blood, some families, people who aren't obsessed with measuring my grass to the millimeter." And the crowd gasps because nobody talks back to Margaret. Not since she fined old Mrs. Peterson $500 for painting her mailbox yellow without approval, but Tom's not backing down. He's tired of the rules, the fees, the way the HOA acts like they own his soul. Just because he bought a house here 10 years ago, and Margaret narrows her eyes, saying, "Tom, you don't get it. Those houses will ruin us. They're modern monstrosities, all glass and steel. They'll clash with our aesthetic, and worse, they'll bring in renters, transients, people who don't care about Willow Creek." And that's when the battle lines are drawn, because this isn't just about houses. It's about power, identity, and who gets to call this place home. Over the next few days, the neighborhood splits into factions, with Margaret rallying her loyalists, people like Susan Carter, a retired schoolteacher who's been writing angry letters to the county planning board, and Phil Grayson, a balding accountant who's convinced the new houses will tank his property value and ruin his dream of flipping his colonial for $1 million, while Tom starts gathering his own crew. Folks who've had enough of the HOA's iron fist, like Jenna Patel, a single mom who moved here for the schools but hates how the HOA fined her for her kids' lemonade stand, and Mike O'Connor, a grizzled retiree who just wants to grill in peace without Margaret sniffing around about smoke violations. And together they start digging into Pinnacle's plans, because if they're going to fight, they need to know what they're up against. The developer, Pinnacle Properties, is run by a slick guy named Ethan Caldwell, mid-30s, all charm and expensive suits, who rolls into town in a Tesla and holds a public meeting at the local library, laying out his vision: 50 energy-efficient homes, a small park, maybe even a community garden, promising jobs during construction and a boost to the tax base. But Margaret's there, front row, arms crossed, and when Ethan finishes, she stands up and says, "Mr. Caldwell, you can dress it up all you want, but we know what this is. A cash grab. You'll build your cheap houses, sell them off, and leave us with a mess." And Ethan smiles, smooth as silk, replying, "Mrs. Hensley, I respect your passion, but progress isn't a mess. It's opportunity, and Willow Creek could use some." And the room splits again, half clapping for Ethan, half booing, and Tom's watching from the back, thinking maybe this guy's not so bad. But Margaret's already plotting her next move. She calls an emergency HOA meeting, dragging out the bylaws, a dusty binder thicker than a phone book, and points to Section 12, Paragraph 4, which gives the HOA authority to preserve the character of the community, arguing that the new houses violate that, and she proposes a resolution. Sue Pinnacle Properties to block construction, citing environmental concerns, traffic issues, anything they can throw at the wall, and the vote's close, 16-14 in favor, with Tom and his crew fuming because they know the HOA's dues, $300 a year per household, will skyrocket to pay for lawyers. But Margaret doesn't care. She's got her war chest and her crusade, and she hires a shark of an attorney, Victor Lang, who's got a reputation for burying developers in paperwork until they give up. Meanwhile, Tom's group isn't sitting still. They start a petition to dissolve the HOA entirely, arguing it's overstepped its bounds, and they go door to door, collecting signatures, facing slammed doors from Margaret's loyalists but also finding allies, like Mrs. Kim, an elderly widow who's been quietly seething since the HOA made her take down her bird feeders, and the petition grows. 50 signatures, then 100, then 150, enough to force a special election under state law, and suddenly Margaret's not just fighting Pinnacle, she's fighting for her own survival. The tension spills onto next door, where posts get nasty. Susan accuses Tom of being a developer shill. Tom fires back that Susan's just mad her begonias didn't win last year's garden contest, and someone anonymously leaks a photo of Margaret's own house with an unapproved satellite dish, sparking a hypocrisy scandal that has Phil scrambling to defend her, saying, "It's for her husband's sports channels. It's not the same." And the neighborhood's a powder keg, kids picking up the feud at school, husbands and wives arguing over dinner about whose side they're on, and even the local coffee shop, Brew and Bean, putting up a no HOA talk sign because baristas are tired of breaking up shouting matches. Pinnacle, sensing the chaos, pushes forward, breaking ground on Lot 17 with a bulldozer that roars to life one crisp morning, and Margaret's there with a megaphone, leading a protest of 24 residents, chanting, "Save our streets. Stop the greed." While Tom and Jenna watch from across the road, Jenna saying, "They're just houses. Why is she acting like it's Armageddon?" And Tom nodding, because she's losing control, and that scares her more than anything. And the police show up, telling Margaret to disperse or face arrest, but she stands her ground until Victor, her lawyer, pulls her aside, whispering that a lawsuit's filed, and injunctions pending, and they need to play it smart, so she relents, but not before glaring at the bulldozer like it's her mortal enemy. The lawsuit hits the county court fast. Victor argues the development violates zoning laws, claims the traffic study's flawed, even drags up an old environmental report about a rare frog species spotted on Lot 17 back in '98, and Pinnacle's lawyers counter that everything's permitted, the frog's long gone, and the HOA's just stalling progress, and the judge, a tired woman named Clara Evans, sighs through 3 days of hearings, finally granting a temporary injunction to halt construction until a full review, which could take months, and Margaret's crowing victory at the next HOA meeting, saying, "We've got them on the ropes," while Tom's group seethes, knowing the delay's just bleeding everyone dry. Pinnacle's losing money, the HOA's burning dues on legal fees, and residents are stuck in limbo. Ethan Caldwell, though, isn't one to wait. He starts schmoozing the county council, hosting a barbecue for local officials, promising donations to the library fund, and rumors swirl he's greasing palms to fast-track approvals, which infuriates Margaret even more, so she doubles down, hiring a private investigator to dig into Ethan's past, and the PI comes back with dirt. Ethan's company botched a project in Ohio 5 years ago, leaving a half-built subdivision that tanked property values, and Margaret leaks it to the local paper, the Willow Creek Gazette, with a headline screaming, "Developers' dark past threatens our future," and Ethan's forced to hold a press conference, admitting the Ohio mess but insisting he's learned from it, saying, "I'm not perfect, but I'm here to build something good," and some residents buy it, others don't, and the fracture deepens. Tom's petition hits 200 signatures, enough to trigger the election, and the date's set, April 20th, 2 weeks away, and both sides campaign like it's a presidential race. Margaret's crew plastering "Save Willow Creek" signs on every lawn that'll take one, Tom's group handing out flyers that read "Freedom from the HOA tyranny," and the debates get ugly. One night at the community center turning into a shouting match where Phil accuses Jenna of wanting slums in their backyard, and Mike O'Connor tells Phil to shove his calculator where the sun don't shine, and Margaret's gavel bangs so hard it cracks, but nobody's listening anymore. They're too far gone. The election day dawns tense, residents filing into the polling station, a makeshift setup in the elementary school gym, casting ballots under the watchful eyes of Margaret and Tom, who've barely slept, and the count drags on past midnight. Volunteers tallying votes as the crowd waits outside, sipping lukewarm coffee, until the results announced: 312 to dissolve the HOA, 298 to keep it. A razor-thin margin, and Margaret's face crumples, years of power slipping away, while Tom's crew cheers. Though he's too exhausted to celebrate, knowing this isn't the end, Pinnacle's still coming, and the neighborhood's still split. The next morning, the injunction's lifted, Ethan's greased enough wheels, the frog's a non-issue, and construction resumes, bulldozers roaring back to life, and Margaret watches from her porch, defeated but not broken, muttering, "They'll see, they'll all see," while Tom walks his dog past the site, wondering if he's won a battle just to lose the war, because those new houses are rising, and with them, new neighbors, new fights, and a Willow Creek that'll never be the same, and as the first walls go up, the sun sets on a neighborhood caught between past and future, a story of control, rebellion, and the messy, human heart of a place called home.